What is a cult that pretends it's not cult? Every cult denies they're a cult. Are there cults that are like, yeah, legit we're a cult? But hear me out? Blue Oyster Cult. The Herbalife Company. Despite being accused of being a pyramid scheme, they continue to function similarly. There are some people from my childhood who became addicted to it, and they act very much like members of a cult. Scientology. They bought out the Cult Awareness Network so they wouldn't be on the list. Yesterday, I actually observed a job posting that stated don't bother applying if receiving money is your main motivation. Here, we live like a family. One of the most degrading things I've ever read was that. Just to be clear, this job was compensated. They simply stated that they wouldn't be paying you much, I presume. Oh, that's such a relief. I need a new place to stay, and when's dinner? Sorry, but the sign was meant to mean you treat us like family, not the other way around. Well then I hate you and I never want to see you again. We have discussed it and we agree that you have what's called a toxic personality and you will not be the right fit for our family. Please show yourself out. We also validate parking. Cries and breaks a vase. You aren't even my real dad. Ballet. You are basically at their whim. You are expected to pay tuition, costumes, dance wear, dance shoes, travel fees, competition fees, production fees, tickets, and do volunteer work and give up your entire schedule. If you complain at all about anything valid or not, they shun you by not giving your kid a good role or not moving them up a level. And they withhold attention to your child. You literally must schedule all life around ballet. And pay thousands and thousands of dollars so your kid can be in the back. If you quit, all the former dance parents and friends will shun you. Same goes with gymnastics. I had a friend who missed one single day because she was sick and got yelled at for it in front of everyone. She literally practiced on the team every single day. When I was younger, I did a class of gymnastics. They all forced us into middle and front splits, trying to push us down. I was only around 6. It tore some very sensitive areas and they wouldn't let me sit out. It was the beginning of a horrible shunning and long issue with a wound reopening. These were adults BTW doing the club. I wish I hadn't heard this story a bunch of times before, but I have. Ballet and gymnastics are ducking rife with child abuse, and that's undeniably what that is. The Duggar family. I saw a Sun article at the supermarket that read, which Duggars are the Beyoncé Jay-Z of the family? None of them? We figured out who the R. Kelly of the family was, though. Jehovah's Witnesses. As someone who comes from a family of Jehovah's and has actively practiced this faith in past times, it is 100% a cult. It was simultaneously painful and relieving to finally accept that they were truly a cult after I escaped. CrossFitter here. We are absolutely a cult. Fish fan also. Huge cult. As a CrossFitting fish fan, you shut your goddamn mouth. I'm not in a cult. No. You're in 2 cults. Fish fan here, sup. The troubled teen industry, youth residential therapy programs that are underregulated and rampant with abuse, and children's deaths. Edit, the earlier programs were closely based off the teachings of a cult called Synanon. Not every program open right now is a cult itself, but their history is abusive and most programs do significantly more harm than good. As a survivor of these, some are worse than others. My experience is nothing like the horror stories of Elon or Provo Canyon. But even the good ones use textbook methods of psychological coercion to force you to change and do what they say. For anyone who isn't informed, Troubled Teens is a great resource for any survivors, or anyone who just wants to learn what it's actually like, to talk about their experiences in a safe environment where nobody is going to invalidate you or claim you don't understand. Southern Pentecostal Baptist snake handlers grew up going to one of these churches. Long drive to a small church hidden in the woods. They honestly believed only their members were going to make it to heaven. We saw some crazy stuff in that building. Grew up near one of those in Georgia without realizing it. Crazy stuff. I grew up next to a mountain full of them in Alabama. They make some fun music, very hypnotic and trance-like. Someday someone is going to be the Avicii of snake handlers and parents are going to be afraid of their kids sneaking out to go to the underground snake raves. Wake me up when it's all over. Snake bites hand instantly waking up person. Snake me up when it's all over. There's the usual answers like religions, tech startups, etc., and then there's the BTS army. Upvoted for bravery. BTS is hated here, go on Twitter and that will be the real bravery. BTS isn't hated here. Their fans are. I think that's a big difference. Texas AM. My mom likes to tell the story about when I visited there as a high school senior. It was a one-night sleepover tour. I hated it. When she came to pick me up the following day, I was waiting at the curb, sitting on my packed suitcase. I hopped immediately into the car and the first thing I said was, "It's a cult. Let's get out of here." I am imagining Bobby Hill saying all of this. Hank, are y'all with the cult? Cult member, it's not a cult, it's an organization that promotes love and Hank, yay, this is it. No one, and I repeat, no one out-pizzas the Hut edit. Wow, thank you guys for the karma, I mean love. Made my day lol. QAnon. MLMS. A lot of my friends and family tell me I'm unknowingly in the cult of Jeep owners. I mean, it's a Jeep thing they wouldn't understand. My car breaks down so much, sometimes I feel like a Jeep owner. I heard Jeeps have the best head-on crash test rating. The tow truck tends to take most of the blow. The Amish. They control nearly every aspect of their followers' lives and live in incredibly insular society. Sure, they let their kids experience the outside world and choose for themselves through Rumspringa, but they seemingly set them up for failure by throwing them into the deep end with no preparation at a time in their lives, 17 to 21, when people aren't noted for great decision making. When the kids almost inevitably end up crashing and burning back into the fold, they are forced to remain for the rest of their lives through the threat of shunning, where even your own parents will treat you as if you are dead and invisible. Sure, they look quaint with their beards, buggies, and barns, but if you actually look at them critically, they're as bad as any other cult, they've just been around longer. Edit, whoops, mixed threat and treat. Ethnic Mennonite here, and not that kind with a stick up their ass about the Amish. It's only very few colonies, Amish or Mennonite, that allow Rumspringa. It's not an across-the-board thing and it's very commercialized. Really curious what commercialized looks like for this. Could you give some details? Ty. The concept of Rumspringa has been the subject of relatively popular reality TV for several years, a lot of money to be made off the when very little makes sense when you know how the colonies work. It's often emphasized how conservative or private these colonies in the documentaries are, but many things just do not align with that, e.g., baptized members allowing themselves to be filmed and doing interviews, the things the young adults are doing while being allowed back to the colony, and all the way down to the very fact that a majority of the most conservative colonies don't allow Rumspringa at all. It's very commercialized and dramatized, and while there certainly are Amish and Mennonite groups that are much less conservative and allow some of those things, those are not typically the ones in the documentaries, as it would be less interesting to watch. Mormons. CrossFit. The first rule of CrossFit is that you must talk about CrossFit. 45 minutes of exercise followed by 45 hours of talking about your exercise. Literally all of them. There isn't a single cult, including the really scary ones that people make documentaries about, that believes it's a cult. Source: I was raised in the Children of God Family International. We never thought we were in a cult, but we very much were. MLMS, particularly Mary Kay. I once attended a convention as a consultant's guest in an effort to persuade me to go. Very Stepford-like. She also failed to inform me that you were supposed to dress up, so I arrived in jeans and a hoodie. I filled in for the receptionist at a Cadillac dealership once. It happened to be the day of a pink car ceremony, which is when a Mary Kay consultant gets the keys to a pink XT5. The consultant and their team have to make $100,000 in sales in a year to get that car. Oh, and they don't immediately own it outright. Picture a crying middle-aged lady sitting on the hood of a $50,000 car while about 10 of her friends, half of them also crying and all of them emotional, take photos and video. 7 of them walked up to the reception desk and tried to recruit me and most of the women who worked in the dealership. Taken from above link. The consultant isn't gifted the car outright, by the way. It's a 2-year co-op lease paid for by Mary Kay, and when the 2 years is up, the consultant can elect to sell the car back to the dealership or purchase it herself. Exactly. My mom knew a Mary Kay consultant whose sales fell when a family tragedy took up most of her time, and they took away the car. Yup, happened to my mom. She got the Mary Kay car, family hit hard times, she couldn't keep up the mandatory product purchasing, and along came the repo men. Note I said purchasing. They don't care if you sell it, they just make you buy it. I grew up with an entire room dedicated to that shitty makeup. They convinced her that it's more important to keep purchasing over other things, like mortgage payments. We had to move because we lost the house. Duck that company sideways with a rake.